go fuck yourself. And that's the first thing Ian's going to hear is Windows go fuck yourself. That's how my day's going. Look, this week I had to read The Rise of Nagash and The Return of Nagash. One of these books is interesting, and one of these books is pain, because the Warhammer M times were very poorly written and very rushed.
It's like we've talked about it on several occasions on how bad it is.
You know, before we even start this, I'm just going to take this. Mike Lee, you did a good job. Okay? I mean, it's dry, but you did a good job. Josh Reynolds, it is my understanding that they required you to write that entire novel in about 4 months. And it shows. And if you had the option to rewrite that novel, please do. But don't ever publish it. Yeah. Don't ever publish it.
Yeah. Well, I think also I don't want to do an episode on it because that means I'd also have to either read or audiobook the end times. I feel like doing that, we would have to reach like a very high patron goal for us to even consider it, just because it would be such.
Okay. You bring up Patreon. I'm going to bring this up now. Guys, we don't have a sponsor, okay? I've never had a sponsor on anything. I have denied sponsors, in some cases offering me upwards of $500 to $1,000 for a video, knowing full well that that sponsor is not going to get their money back. And I still turn them down. I turned down the meme sponsor. I turned down Raid Shadow Legends.
I love you, Fee, but that's not a big flex. I've turned down Raid Shadow Legends.
I know, but the fact that like they offered me $500 just to have them in a video, and I'm just like, no. And my normal sponsorship offers like $30 to $50, and I still say no, because even though I could use the $30 to $50, because hey, that's half my grocery money for the week. Well, nowadays it's a third of my grocery money for the week. I just, please, go over to, if you like this show, if you like seeing me live stream, if you like the upcoming VTuber avatar, because that's a thing, I have sent Ian the files that he will need for this episode to access to show it off, because, oh dear God, it's in, uh-oh. Fauna, don't do this to me. Fauna, I need to show this to patrons.
Hi, podcast listeners. This is Scott, aka Ginger, talking, having no idea what Fee's freaking out about, but I know Fee's freaking about something out. So enjoy her freak out while I try and ponder what could be happening.
Yeah, so this is coming along beautifully. We still have to put clothes on her.
Now, Fee, are you going to do, as much as I enjoy watching VTubers, I am probably in the majority of this pet peeve of the asymmetrical fashion design. While it has its perks, I think it's annoying.
No,
please tell me you're.
No. I'm wearing a. She's going to be wearing a black tank top with. I'm going to get an artist to draw it this week, but she's going to be wearing a black tank top with my favorite video game on it. Well, my favorite line of all time from any video game ever, with the character's face on it, and a lab coat. And because of the dark feathers and what's it called, salt and pepper feathers, the lab coat's going to contrast extremely well. But no, it's not asymmetrical. It's going to be functional fashion that makes sense for me.
Well, we actually started the podcast, or are we still?
We started the podcast. We started. Ian's over here. Am I supposed to edit this out or in? What do I do here? Directions unclear. Me. We started. It's fine.
I'm on this podcast. I don't even know when it started, so I'm going to try and get this train back on the tracks by going what I've been up. Because it wasn't even like you were like, it's the equivalent of like you're standing at the platform, you're like, looking at your phone or reading a magazine or whatever, and the train goes by, and you were like, wait, was that even my train? Or was that the train that doesn't stop here anyways?
I know, but also, we got called discount. So one of the comments we got, I would love to make the Masahito shirt, by the way, to that commenter. But one of the comments we got called us, and I quote, the depth is ridiculous when you buy it from Temu. And I'm like, you know what? I'll wear that with a badge of honor. I'm okay with this.
Wait, sorry, you're cut out when you said that.
Is this the commenter said, is this Adeptus ridiculous if you buy it from Temu?
The reference went over I know what Temu is, but I don't get the reference.
Oh, Adeptus Ridiculous is a very popular Warhammer 40k podcast. They've been doing some fantasy recently because they ran out of 40k topics.
Yeah, see, look at us. We're not worrying about running out of topics because, in fact, we've had episodes where we're like, oh yeah, we totally need to do that.
see, this is the difference between 40k and fantasy. 40k, it's all about, the Imperium of Man is trying to fight against all of these things, and occasionally you get a side story about one of the things, but the number of things is very limited. Warhammer Fantasy, I could sit here and do an entire episode on the biology of Lustria and the shenanigans that go on in that rainforest, and you know what? Ian and Ginger would probably be here to suffer for it. Because, oh dear God, the horrors that would come out of that.
Right, and then the thing is, even when we're kind of putting what I call the brain I can never say brain bleach filter prevention, we still have so many topics because we have all of these characters and like stories, and because the world has been at least in its the story has been around for so long. You can kind of then have eras, like even the Empire is a perfect example of like the stuff that happened under this person's rule, and then under this, you have so many stories that you can get out of it.
And it's not just stories you get out of under individual people of the Empire, but it's like I could get me and Ian the 3 books that are the coming of age of Sigmar and the founding of the Empire, and that would be 6 episodes by itself. So I appreciate Adeptus Ridiculous, and I respect them. To the commenter, I understand why you're not in my audience. That's fair. But in the meantime,
I'm still looking for seeing the Masahito art. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yes, the Masahito art I have commissioned this week. We're gonna give this man some justice because his old model does not do him any justice, and we will see the Ogre Ninja. If you would like us to make stuff for the Ogre Ninja, then I need at least 10 people in the comments to be like, I want the thing. And it'll
already got a couple.
We already have like 2 or 3. I'm looking at the comments now. We have 3. If 10 people say I want the thing, then I can make the thing and send them out to those 10 people, and you guys could all be happy. But enough about stupid money stuff. I've had a week with Stellaris and decided I'm going to just finish my Stellaris game this week and finally say I did a game of Stellaris 4.0. That's how my entire week has been. What have you been up to, Ian? God damn it, Ginger. Why do I confuse these 2 men? They're both Gingers, but why?
Yeah, I've seen Ian, and so I'm like, how the hell can you confuse me and Ian? But how many hours of sleep are you working on, Fee?
Today? 6.
Yeah.
And 6 hours and 22 minutes.
Mm.
How many hours was I working on yesterday? 350.
All right, so what I've been
350.
All right, so what I've been up to. So this one I'll try and compress so it's not stupid long. Continuing my onboarding process with Cunard, which so the frustrating part is, so one of the things I need is medical certificates, which I get, makes sense. You want to make sure the people you employ at a place in which many people come through and pay large amounts of money to have a vacation, that they have the proper vaccines. I get it. The problem is, this is where, as I've mentioned before, I live in Vermont. It's an outlier. I get it. Like, I'm not, but I've messaged them and I said, hey, I have a primary care physician. Can I please get this certification done there? And they go, no, you only can do it at our ones we've approved, which basically for America is New York, Miami, Texas, Seattle, and I'm sure there's somewhere else. But, the major quadrants of the country, which I'm like, fine, I get it. I'm in an outlier. Most of the people who work in the cruise industry, even in America, are not where I live. So I call up New York, the one in New York, and they go, they're not doing that anymore. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And there wasn't like a second one in New York. I even asked them like, hey, then do you know who's taking their place? They're like, no one has. So I have to go to Miami to get medical certificates. Luckily, looking through Cunard's website, they will reimburse me, but I'm just like, this should not be this freaking difficult. And I'm willing to bet all the things they're going to have me do are something that my primary care physician can easily do. It's going to be the equivalent of like, all right, can you see objects, at 20, 30 feet? Are you able to, move around? Can you lift 50 pounds? The basic physical stuff. There's going to be nothing special. I'm willing to bet that. But thankfully, I do have a friend in Miami whose place I can crash at, so that makes it a lot more a lot easier. So I don't have to like figure out a hotel. But I'm just like, great! I'm gonna have to waste 3 days for a literal like. I'm willing to bet it will be like 30 minutes, an hour tops, for something. I'm like, this could have been done at my home. Not my home, but like where I live. Yeah, so that was a little frustrating. But I do need reminds me, I do need to email the people at Keynote and be like, hey, just so you know, your New York office that does this doesn't exist anymore. Because I know I'm willing to bet they're going to have some people who are going to get a rude awakening for that. But there's that. I'm still going through on it, but it's just frustrating. I'm just like, and when I tried to call them at one point, I got the help center, which this is going to sound, not very PC of me, but I picked up both times I called. I got someone with a very heavy Indian accent who did not speak English clearly. I get it. English is a difficult language. My frustration is not the person who picked up the phone. My frustration is at Carnival/Cunard that they cannot be bothered to hire people that English is their first language. I'm like, these people are working for you and you can't be bothered. And I later found out, and I have to argue this with the phone company, that phone line was not toll-free. So I got charged $50 to call them. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Did not even get an answer. But this is the frustration of dealing with a big corporation. I get it. It's going to happen. But on a different note, Vermont, we have one of our cities, I say in air quotes. Burlington is a town that thinks it's a city, even though, yes, technically it is a city. But anyways, every year we have a jazz festival called Burlington Jazz Fest, and I did some gigs there. And most of it was pretty cool, like in little jazz trios. But one of the acts, in my opinion, I'd rather work with two broad categories. People who know they are, not famous and, very humble. Or people who are like megalomaniacs because, they're the big, touring around the world and, I hate people who are in the middle. People who aren't famous but think they're something, because those people are usually the biggest pains in the asses, because they were told, hey, use the drum set, and we do sound check with our kind of house drum set just to make changeover easier. We get to their bit and the guy starts bringing out his drums and I was just like, what? Like, dude, why? This just like, obviously we had plenty of time, so it wasn't a big deal, but I'm like, this could have been, could have just spoke to one of us on the team and said, hey, I'm not really happy with the drum set. Mind if I just use mine? No, that conversation didn't happen. And it was just, oh my God. But I'm gonna end on then just jump to media I've been on because I could just vent about other things, and that's not what we've spent enough time. For media, my mom and I watched on Netflix the Woodstock '99 documentary. Oh boy, if you want to this and the Fire Festival documentary, watch this if you want to learn how not to run an event because it goes through the chronicles of like how it went wrong, like so many things that you would think even if you weren't experienced in events because I've run events, I've run conventions. Fee, you've also done the same. There's a lot going into it. But like some
Mm-hmm.
of the things at Woodstock 99 you're like you feel somebody who didn't even know things about events because like one example the kind of the infamous thing about Woodstock 99 was the water prices obviously adjusted for inflation $4 for a bottle of water isn't a lot today but back in 1999 it averaged 69 cents nice
Nice.
so yeah but it was because they subcontracted out all the food vendors so they lost control of the pricing and they when people were getting their bags checked, if they had water, even if it was like Dasani water or Evian or what insert water here, they would take their water. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, that's a shitty thing. Like I get taking alcohol, taking drugs, but it's like, wow, taking water so that you're then scalping your your
You're scalping
attendees,
your
like
customer base, yeah.
yeah, just for water. Like to the food I get to an extent, but it's like, yeah, that's just the start of it. The documentary goes into many other things, but whew, that was an interesting learning of like, I usually sometimes when I watch documentaries about music stuff, I'm always like, yeah, man, I get this nostalgic or like this man, and I wish I was there. This is the one time watching one of those, I'm like, yeah, I'm glad. Obviously, the timeline wouldn't have worked out for me because I would have been 9 years old. But still, it's like, yeah, I'm glad I didn't go there. Um, but what else I watched was just happenstance. I was like making dinner, and mom was just channel surfing, and they had Lethal Weapon 3 on TV, and we're like, oh, let's just watch it. I was like, man, I forgot how good the Lethal Weapon series are, and it's like, you ever watch any of the Lethal Weapons movies, Fee?
Yes.
Yeah. Mel Gibson was born to play that character because I was just like, yeah, that was
I
just
mean,
fun to enjoy. Yeah, you're gonna say something on
I mean, today he sucks, but like back then, no, you're right. He was born to play that. He was born to play the character, and then like he tried to do some other, stuff. It just was not working.
yeah, no, yeah, that can be a whole other topic. But like, yeah, those movies. It's a shame they only made four because I'm like, usually when Hollywood tries to sequel like ad nauseum, and you're like, okay, enough of this. Lethal Weapon. I honestly feel they could have gone on more with that series just because you watch that series for the character dynamics. Usually, like the stories were good. Like three's plot was like, ooh, okay, that's an interesting plot. But you watch it for the actors interacting and the characters existing, and that's was half the fun of the series. Let's see here, what else? I'll add this is something new I'll be doing. Kind of music I've been listening to. Um, Listening to Idols, Joy is an Act of Resistance. That album is just one of those albums that just helps me get through a lot, especially everything that's been going on, and just both like in the world, but also just in my own personal life.
Hold on, hold on,
It's
hold
I
on.
like to just yeah.
Albums of Resistance. I feel like that's
No,
either I feel like that's not a band name.
no, okay. So the band, I mentioned this last week. So the band is called Idols. The
Okay.
album is called Joy as an Act of Resistance.
Okay, that there's some words blended together there. I'm glad we cleared that up because I was lost for a second.
Yeah, it's all right, Fee. And then the other albums were I'm an album guy most of the time. I like listen to playlists, but I like to listen to albums.
Mm-hmm.
It's Fresh Cream and Disraeli Gears. And it was just like, yeah, just how good that trio. That's like Cream was one of the first, like we use the term today, supergroup. Like Cream was one of the first ones where it's just like, yeah, these people who were all three, Ginger Baker, Eric Clapton, I'm spacing on the third person for I don't know why for the hell of me, but all three of them were famous before Cream was formed. So hence the term supergroup kind of got coined by them. And they're just really good albums with great musicians. So, Fee, what have you been up to this week?
Okay, so this week I have basically been streaming Stellaris. Um, I had a panic moment on Tuesday. And I said, okay, well, if I'm going to spend this much time, I want to finish this game and just move on. So, the panic moment was Stellaris released an update. Um, and at the same time, a mod creator released an update. Problem. The mod creator's update is for version 4.0.15. The new update is 4.0.16. As you
Who
can
makes Stellaris?
imagine... Go ahead.
No, who makes Stellaris?
Paradox.
Even without you just giving me that details is all the hours I put in the Hearts of Iron 4. I already know where this is going to go.
So as you can imagine, me being ignorant of these two things, opened my Stellaris game. It did not go well!
I didn't see the stream. How did it not go well?
Oh, this wasn't even on stream. I was opening it Tuesday night. I was opening it Tuesday night so that I could make sure everything was good to go and do the so for those who don't know, when you stream a game, you don't just get a lot of the time you don't just get to stream the game as is. There's this part called streamer grind, where basically I have to grind off stream through all the uninteresting parts. So like when I was streaming Pokemon 2 years ago now, a lot of the time I was playing off stream for hours and hours doing the grind. To grind up levels. Well, in the case of like grand strategy or park management, because I'm looking at Paradox announcing Jurassic World Evolution 3 and going, really? Are we going to have is it going to be good, or is it just going to be like, hey, we released another game and then we cut a bunch of content from the previous game? Are we doing that again, Paradox? Because if we do that again, it's going to be like City Skylines all over again. Anyway, so a lot of the uninteresting parts you have to play off stream, because obviously I can't sit here and stream a game and then, like, for in Stellaris' case, 3.5 hours and nothing happens would be me sitting here talking for 3.5 hours and completely ignoring the game I'm playing, which is doable, but it's not the most interesting form of content.
Yeah, and especially when you're a solo streamer. Like if you're like, I don't know, like someone where you have like other people you stream with on a consistent basis, you can make that work. But if
I miss
like
Hetty. I know Hetty's life has changed and he can't come and hang out on stream for hours and hours anymore, but Hetty, I miss you. You made my streaming easy because you would always have something interesting. And I'm glad that someone like there's some new people who've stepped in. Shiny Star has made things interesting for me again. I miss Orsk too. There's just some people who just like it's not that I've made them mad or anything. They just drifted off and their life has taken other priorities, and they can't always be on the comms with me. I know right now is summer and Orsk is a fisherman by trade, so because it's summer, he's going to be gone all summer and he'll be back in like September.
And like I feel bad that I miss being on some streams, but just because of the nature of my mom's business, and sometimes you stream during the day when my mom's working, so I can't really. But yeah, so mind if that you mentioning that remembers I have a tiny rant to go on if you got any more to say on that, but it's compare with the mod things.
So I spent 5 hours Tuesday at 11 p.m. to start with fixing mods. And by fixing mods, I mean I know enough Paradox code at this point from years and years of playing modded Paradox games that I could make a mod if I really wanted to and had the time. Because I know how to read their code. And it was just me going in and being like, okay, that's not right. Okay, yes, psychic enforcers are a thing, but not all enforcers have to be psychic. And then coming to the next thing and being like, oh, you just removed those three megastructures entirely because you can't find a way to balance them properly. I guess I have to go in my game world and find all those instances of those megastructures and delete it. And I can't load the game up to do it in some cases. I have to open the save file and go through the code and hope I don't corrupt the save file, which means I used a backup copy. Yeah, that was I did, however, discover what is probably a bug, but
Yeah.
is fucking hilarious. So if you can find a way to get 2 of the automation buildings as a biological species onto a single planet, so you have one in the cityscape section and one in the in the lower section that's the base resource production section, like the mining section or the farm section, and then you put farming support or mining support or whatever that section is. Those 2 buildings will now give 100% of the jobs filled without anyone actually working them. Which means I started establishing colonies that had 100 pops that were generating thousands of food to feed my meat ships.
I think that might. I don't know anything about Stellaris, but I know how Paradox games work. I think that might be a little broken.
This is like getting plus 1000% construction speed in Hearts of Iron instead of plus 100.
Oh, which on a segue, I know your feeling about mods not working because, god damn it, Paradox, I don't know what their stupid justification was. So in vanilla Hearts of Iron 4, Russia used to have the democratic alt history. And it was cool because you could play democratic alt Germany and Russia, and you could then do the ones to work. For some reason, Paradox has deemed that no, that could never happen. So they just straight up removed that. So if you want to try and recreate what Fee and I did, minus the Ukraine part, which was still hilarious, you have to use the Road to 56. Here's the problem. Road to 56 uses the vanilla, for Democratic Germany, uses the vanilla tree, which is a great tree, and I love playing it. The problem is some things aren't working. There's one of them where you get a focus, so you can start encouraging the Baltics to be democratic and join your faction. Last time I played it, I went through the focus tree, and it did nothing. So there's no way to encourage all the nations without doing spies to go democratic. You're like, really, guys? How did you break a working focus? How do you do that? But we're back to you, Fee. Is there anything else, or shall we get on with the actual reason everyone's here?
We should get on with the actual episode. We've been ranting for 30 minutes at this point. I know some of this is going to get edited down, but I have to look at that timer and be like, yeah. By the way, I need to remember to put chapters in episodes, which means, hey, Ian, I need the episode, like, more than an hour before I go to bed. Or I need to not wake up and be like, oh shit, episodes here. It's got to get out in 2 hours. That's not enough time to watch it and put in chapters. But hey, you know what, Ian, I know you're doing the best you can, and I appreciate you. The only other thing I will say is this. I allow people to suggest nations for Stellaris. If you have a suggestion, go right ahead. Because I have everything from Babylon 5 to the Kentucky Fried Chicken Enlightenment.
I have questions, but let's get to the actual reason why everyone's here.
That's true. Alright, so, hi everyone. So for this episode, I had to read As I said earlier, at the very start, I had to read some books. I had to read The Rise of Nagash, and I had to read the Return of Nagash. One of these is a little dry, but it was okay. And the other one, um, um, fuck me. I never want to read that book ever again. You ever,
Boring or bad?
I have a question, Ian. Have you ever hurled a book across the room because it disgusted you? And then, like, 10 minutes later, got up, picked it up, gone back to where you were, and continued reading?
Well, Fee, I am not Ian. Number
Oh,
one,
sorry. God, I am
but I'm
waking
sure
up, I
Ian could.
swear.
I'm sure Ian can comment on that. But to answer your question, Fee, yes, I have. I years ago I read The Chocolate War, and I read it at the end, and then how it ends pissed me off so much I threw the book against the wall.
So, um, there are books I love. I absolutely love and adore. But there are parts of those books where I just have to stop reading. And then there are books that I love and I also hate. And there are books I just hate. Return of Nagash, I just hate. But the books I love and hate, like, I love the book. I'll talk nonstop about it. But there are... I'm gonna look at my bookshelf real quick, right behind me. Sarah Zettel. Here we go. Firebird's Vengeance. A novel of this Volta. Wonderful novel. Amazing work. The book is damaged because I've thrown it at the wall twice.
Twice. That's an impressive one, Fee.
On at least two occasions. I love the books. I love that book, but I have thrown it at the wall. My wife has prohibited me from throwing hardback books at the wall anymore because, at least at her house, because she's afraid that I'll damage the wall. But I get very emotional, viscerally emotional, because I have a very vivid imagination. Back to Return of Nagash. I hurled that book so many times I broke the spine.
Whoa. The only books whose spine I've broken is my Arnold Schwarzenegger bodybuilding encyclopedia, but the only reason it's broken is because I keep opening it and using it every time. And I've had that book for years. Holy crap. How long have you had that book for?
Like a week.
You've broken the spine of a book you've only had for a week. Now, did you buy it used or new?
No.
That's impressive, Fee. That's impressive, though I'm sure all the librarians listening right now are not happy with you.
Oh, no one is happy with me. But I did break the spine. Several of the pages fell out. I gingerly put them back in with a tiny bit of super glue. But yeah, no, I hate that book. I really hate that book. I do not like it. I do not want it, Sam. I am. I do not want it with my eggs and ham. But we're gonna talk about Tomb Kings now.
Yes, our first actual two-parter. This will be a two-parter.
The Kingdom of Nehekhara. Yeah, no, a lot of these are like Egyptian names. There's a lot of Egyptophobia and Egyptology in here. And if you don't know what those two terms are, Egyptophobia, fear of Egyptians. See the book The Scarab. The Scarab was in its time a rival for Dracula. At the time, the two people who wrote those books had a bet on who could write a horror novel that would sell more copies. At the time, the writer of The Scarab did in fact win the bet. No one knows what the Scarab is now, and everyone knows what Bram Stoker's motherfucking Dracula is, don't they? And Egyptology is archaeology terms used to create specialties in Egypt. It is the number one go-to, the student is not intelligent enough for much else career for people who go to college in Egypt. This is not even a joke.
And remember, everybody, like the Japan episode, please write all complaints about racism we will be probably talking about to Games Workshop. We are only discussing what they made. We didn't make this.
It should also be noted that I'm going to mispronounce 80% of the names because I'm from Alabama, and I am not apologizing. Anyway, Nekehara was the most powerful kingdom and tribes of humans 2,000 years before Sigmar ever showed the fuck up. And they lived in what was a paradise. Unlike, when the Empire shows up, where the place they live is a giant desert of death and undead.
Mm-hmm. And death.
It is written that Patra, there are no vowels in this. I don't actually know how the hell I'm supposed to pronounce this, but I'm just gonna copy and paste the name to you, Ian. How do I pronounce that?
Ian's gonna have to start a counter every time you call me Ian on this episode.
I'm sorry, I need to wake up. Okay, Ginger. How do I pronounce this?
Petra is how I would pronounce that.
Yeah, Petra.
Or Petra, because there's nothing between. Yeah, that's how I would pronounce it.
The sun god and the king of their pantheon led his final battle against the dark powers. He rode on this massive splendor chariot. Demons recoiled from him. It was a great time. The civilization was born. The land was bestowed fertile. And then we have the rise of Cetra. And I'm going to say this because it is the mantra of Cetra. Cetra does not serve.
Done enough of these where I know where this is heading.
So, Cetra founded a kingdom of Khmiri, and he pushed back the greenskin hordes, the same greenskin hordes that were now pushed back into the lands of the Empire that Sigmar would be fighting 2,000 years later.
They did the meme of, why don't we take this greenskin problem and put it someplace else?
Make it someone else's problem. Yes. But something happened.
Something always does.
As Cetra marched out, subjugating all he saw and growing and rising his kingdom, he of course died and passed it on. And as you know, you pass on to rulers. Eventually, you run into the ruler. All empires do. They run into the ruler who's so incompetent that he fucks everything up.
Yep.
And so that happened. And the first sign of real bad trouble was when, quote, scaled creatures from the jungles, hi lizardmen, we're looking at you, completely destroyed the city of Libris. And the greenskins came back. And then the Norskins started raiding this far south because they could.
Wait, Norska, the one that's in like the frozen tundra wasteland, right?
Yep. And this is where Cetra's rising to power. This is when he's crowned king. And Cetra goes, no, fuck all of that. For his entire reign, Cetra fixed everything, repelled all of these people, and even rebuilt 2 shattered cities.
Okay, that's impressive.
But Cetra was also a completely ruthless, narcissistic asshole.
Of course.
But he did make the Golden Age. Cetra, however, sought something that should not have been sought. He sought immortality.
I was about to say, considering we just did the vampire episode, yeah.
And so the priests, upon his dying, promised him he would wake up in a golden paradise and he would rule for 1,000,000 years. And with his final breath, he issued a curse. And with that curse came the Tomb King's vampirism. Every ruler who was alive then had this curse placed upon them that they would one day reawaken and bring forth their armies and forever rule their lands. And the funny thing about all this is they prepared for the day of awakening with all these spells and everything, and it affected everyone in the kingdom, from the lowest servant to the highest ruler. So as after dynasty passed, and they continued to mummify their rulers and perform all of these acts and rituals, eventually someone would come along who would fulfill the curse. And this man's name is Nagash.
We've heard that name before.
Yep. Nagash the Necromancer, the greatest treachery. Nagash was set to be in the mortuary cult. This cult that had formed around mummifying the rulers, around everything. And he knew of the curse that Cetra had issued and the incantations and everything that were preserving his remains until he could be reawakened. He also knew his younger brother was going to ascend to the throne upon their father's death. And he decided, no, I want the crown myself. So he began to corrupt the religious incantations of the mortuary cult. You see where this is going.
Though, quick pause, unless it gets explained later. Why did Cetra utter the curse, if I'm getting the whole curse in the first place? It just seems like he just seemed vindictive on his deathbed, be like, F you, I'm cursing everybody. Are we going to get into why he did?
Okay, so on his deathbed, Cetra was pissed. He was pissed because he was dying and no one could stop it. And people kept trying to offer him solutions, but at the end of the day, he stood upon the peak of the Black Mountains, the very edge of his vast empire, and surveyed what he'd conquered, and he was disappointed because he could see more lands in the distance that he could still conquer.
That's why he cursed people. It's just, this is so damn petty.
And his biggest gripe was his death would rob him of all his achievements.
So
and he set the events in motion that would eventually cause the rise of Nagash without knowing it. Because when he set the events in motion, this was thousands of years ago. Nagash doesn't come around until 2,000 years before the Empire, and Nagash set these events in motion in like 2,500, in like negative 2,500. So he set these events in motion 500 years and then died.
Do we know how old he was when he died? Did he die like in his 40s, his 80s?
He swore he would rule to be at least 100. We have no idea if he even made it to 50.
Okay, to a degree, I can understand his angst, but still. Okay, at least that's why. So let's go back to where you're going on the narrative.
He's very much a Alexander the Great figure. There's still more land to conquer. I need to live longer. Anyway, so Nagash corrupted the cult that Cetra had formed for his own ends. He murdered his brother's bodyguard and entombed his brother alive with their father.
Jesus fucking Christ.
It is said that he was so impatient to receive his crown that he still had blood on his hands from the fight with the bodyguards when he was crowned.
And no one noticed the blood?
Can't really argue. Their law system wasn't ready for this. So Nagash is now experimenting with necromancy, dark magic, and things you're not supposed to touch. And then he orders his people to build this. The white pyramid in front is the size of the Pyramid of Giza. The black pyramid is what he told them to build.
Insert compensating for something joke here.
So,
now, also, is this just like, because from little I know about pyramids, all they are is kind of tombs. Is this at least have some purpose, or is this just his going to be his coffin?
So he was ordering it to be made out of the black stone in particular because it had an alignment with the magic he was using. And one of his successes was the creation of the cursed version of the elixir of life, which those who don't know what the elixir of life is, it is a fairy tale spread by Native Americans to convince the European conquerors to keep them alive and let them look for stuff longer. Same with the Fountain of Youth. Supposedly, Nagash had unlocked the secret to eternal youth. And he allowed some of his advisors and principal lieutenants to have tastes of this elixir of life, which supposedly grant them immortality and incredible strength. But he never showed them how to make it. And they have to constantly keep drinking it. Or not only does it go away, but go ahead.
No, this dude's got some problems, like meant huge.
Mm-hmm. So he orders the construction of this pyramid. And ordered it to be constructed from marble the color of midnight. So black marble. And
wait, I'm pretty sure, does black marble exist in our world, or is this magic bullshit again?
Black marble exists in our world, and it's the cheap marble. In our world, this marble, so this is what black marble looks like, and this is what it looks like on a countertop, and it's considered the cheap marble. It's more plentiful than the white marble and less aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, because like big fancy sculptures made out of marble and stuff are the what is white.
Do you want to actually know why white marble statues are white?
Yeah, I'm curious.
Painting canvas.
Ah.
White marble reflects the colors that are painted onto it better than black in the sunlight. We like to think of so side note, we like to think of our ancestors as making things in these big white columns and stuff. No, I got news for you. Main Street in ancient Rome was a fucking rainbow. And the richest, most extravagant houses were painted in purple and pink.
Mm-hmm.
Because purple and pink were the hardest dyes to acquire. And the most expensive. Yeah, no. So, the funny thing with this pyramid that he has built, and it takes 50 years to build this damn thing, it's cold to the touch despite being under the desert sun.
Yeah, I was about to say, because those who don't know, it's a simple science fact. If you put an object that's white and an object that's black in the sun, the black object will get hotter because black absorbs more heat.
Even stranger, despite the fact that the pyramid initially was polished to a mirror finish, it offered no reflections of anything, including light from the stars or a torch simply would not reflect off of it. Imagine, if you will, walking around at night and there's just a building next to you that looks like a black void.
Okay, weird.
But upon its completion, the winds of magic suddenly drastically intensified tenfold across the area near the pyramid. But in order to build it, he had drained, impoverished, and destroyed the kingdom that Cetra had built. And he had built this pyramid in the shadow of Cetra's pyramid and made it dwarf Cetra's pyramid. Not to mention, when someone died during its construction, they were just hurled into the mortar to add to the mortar.
On this episode of the Writers of Games Workshop Need to Go to School, I'm going to reference the story, the old story about, someone in the construction of Hoover Dam died and is in the mortar of the cement. No, they didn't, because if they died in the mortar and they were buried in it, it would have weakened the structure and it would have collapsed by now. That's the Games Workshop. Go back to school. Anyways.
Someone did drown in the cement, but they fished him out and then determined that a bucket of cement was unusable due to the contamination.
Right, but the story is, I'm not denying that someone died. I'm telling the story is there's not a person in the dam.
There's not a person in the dam. If someone's body were to be encased in cement, the cement would be significantly structurally compromised, and you can't have that in construction of a massive dam project. But in the meantime, because of everything he did to get this damn pyramid built, all the other Tomb Kings rebelled. And Nagash went on a rampage through this rebellion. While the living warriors fought incredibly bravely against Nagash's armies, the problem is Nagash is now a super powerful necromancer, and he's just going to raise all the people that he kills as new soldiers.
Yeah, that sounds like a big problem.
And so now, I want to point this out. This entire sequence seems heavily inspired by The Hobbit. Not the movie, the book, because the book was out a long time ago, and when this was written, because they have a battle of 7 armies. The 7 remaining kings combined their armies and marched on Khemri, the capital of the Tomb Kings. But not only flesh and blood warriors, but for the priest kings, they strode atop towering statues that they had animated, giant sphinx golems of war. And they also were now summoning ancient spirits to fight for them and bounding them to these statues. So you had giant sphinx. And when I say giant sphinx, I mean like Gundam wishes it could have mechs this big.
Oh, damn.
And then they also...
No, go on. I was going to say this is like Gurren Lagann shit in terms of size.
And then they have like, and these are just some of their units. Then they have like golems made out of copper, bronze, and iron that form snake men that dart through the desert. They have scorpion. They have scorpions made like this. They have giants who wield bows the size of houses that fire arrows as large as a horse.
Let me guess. These are models you can buy.
Yes. These are models you can buy. But these are the things that they're throwing against Nagash. Nagash's forces were eventually defeated. They sacked the city. Nagash's lieutenants, who had refused to take refuge in the Black Pyramid because it freaked them right the fuck out, were dragged out of their sarcophagi, one by one, into the sunlight and executed publicly.
It's going to be the slowest execution of someone's damn life. Okay, waiting for the sun. Fuck, the clouds. Waiting for the clouds. An hour later. Now here we go.
So Nagash managed to escape because of the sacrifice of his most loyal lieutenant, who used his forces, his loyal lieutenant Arkhan used his forces and himself to hold off the attackers long enough for Nagash to escape into the night. And so for the next couple hundred years, they they ruled over all of um all of the Tomb King's land, all of Nehekhara, still being conquering, running around conquering things, being about the glory of their kingdom, and like they went right back to business as usual, as if Cetra were around again. And
While Nagash just went and disappeared, and they just went, who cares? Just don't even bother chasing after him.
they figured he disappeared into the lands of the Greenskins and that it would be fine. And then
Uh,
comes the woman into our story.
okay.
Queen of Lamina, Neferta, Neferrata. I'm trying Nefirt. I'm just gonna say Nefert. Her name is really hard to pronounce. Um, she stole. She went into the Black Pyramid and stole the most blasphemous book of all, the Book of Nagash, and used it to adapt her powers to practice necromancy, and consorted with demons.
Okay. Though, gotta admit now, technically, we've now gotten second place for quickest female ruler. Japan currently holds first place, considering it was the second emperor empress. But still, this is a very close second.
She created a tainted version of Nagash's elixir that would extend her life indefinitely, and she gave it to her entire court. But what she didn't know was her version of the elixir would cause them to thirst for mortal blood. And Lamia became the birthplace of all vampires.
So technically, the reason in Warhammer why vampires exist is because of a woman.
Technically, yes, because a woman used Nagash's work to create a version of the elixir of life that was incomplete.
Not sure if making comment or what on society, but anyways.
Anyway, so when the people began to report this out to the wider kingdom, Alakazar, who is the current king of Nekahara, gathered up and massed his army against Lamia, and even with all of their new accursed vampire powers, the queen could not prevail. So the Pale Queen fled. And with her fleeing, she was accompanied by those who she had cursed with a vampiric existence. And now unto the world are scattered, she eventually would be scattered vampires everywhere. Because she made the mistake of teaching her cursed court how to make her tainted version of the elixir of life. And that would eventually lead to the necromantic rituals to embrace vampirism.
Oh boy.
And unbeknownst to the vampires that were now spreading through Nekaharam and Royal Course and everything. So all Tomb Kings are vampires, but they're not just vampires for blood, by the way. They also have to occasionally consume a mortal soul to keep their powers going. So, yeah, mind, body, and soul, nom nom.
Oh god. Jesus.
What they didn't know was that for hundreds of years, Nagash had been plotting his revenge.
What a surprise. Like, you guys would have thought maybe we should just send at least like one scout, like it's just his job to like just maybe see if like find some kind of record. You got all these people, like one person, just see, you know what, on the off chance, let's maybe make sure this guy's actually dead. No, you couldn't be bothered to do that, dumbasses.
And he welcomed these new vampires into his court with open arms.
Oh boy.
So now he made them into, he remolded them, reshaped them, empowered them, and made them into his dark captains. One by one, he slowly got each of them to swear eternal allegiance to him. But not just eternal allegiance with words, but through necromantic magics binding them to those words. This was a real good portion of the book to read.
That does sound like it.
And beside them came host upon host of skeletal warriors drawn from tombs and graveyards all across the kingdom, and from battlefields that they did not know, from places that would one day become the empires known as Sylvania. The foundations of Castle Drakenhof itself, founded upon one such battlefield where thousands of skeletal warriors would have been raised 2,000 years ago to march for Nagash's sorcery. So yeah, that place was cursed from the get-go. And after winning several battles and managing to reassemble Arkhan the Black's corpse, his most trusted servant who held the line for him. Yeah, by the way, Arkhan the Black, they chopped him up and scattered him to like the four winds, and Nagash had to go hunting for all the parts. But he had, a couple hundred years to do it. Go ahead. Ginger! 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 I'm sorry, I had to do the Solid Snake reference. Don't judge me. So this might be a three-parter at this point, ladies and gentlemen, because I seem to have lost Ginger entirely. This is definitely not planned. I assure you that I did not plan for Nagash to claim Ginger as well. Yep, he did. Fuck. Now I gotta get vampire art done of Ginger. Son of a bitch! Soren! Soren, help. We need help. Alright, well anyway, yeah, we're gonna do it. This is now a three-parter. I can't get a hold of Ginger, so I apologize, audience. I'm gonna read the patron names now. We have a new patron list of patron names. I had to reread them. If you'd like your name up here, if you'd like your name read, because like I go through and try to read different names every time. But if you'd like your name up here, please. Every little bit helps. I need to keep the roof over my head. I am a small niche streamer. I do not make a lot of money. There are weeks that I go and I eat like the bare minimum of food. I love this job. I love being allowed to do this sort of thing. I know most of my audience won't see this, and I'm okay with that. I know that I have a very split audience of people who are here for a variety of different topics, and I'm okay with that. I would just ask that more of you take a moment and share this with your friends. I don't care if you put this on Reddit and they make fun of us. I don't care if you put this on Facebook and they come make fun of us. That's fine. The people who don't come make fun of us are the people whom I'm talking to right now. And they chose me and Ginger and Ian as a form of entertainment today. And I appreciate all of you. So, please do. Oh no, my avatar disappeared. There we go. Please do come support us. Whether it be a like or a comment or $1. Literally $1 is all I really am asking for. And I won't even get most of the $1, but I'm okay with that. Thank you all. And I hope this finds you well. Hit the like button, leave a comment. I'm sorry that this first episode is only an hour long, but it was worth doing. And I'm now going to type a reminder to Ginger. But it also means that next week I don't have to read. So, because I've already read everything. Yay! And I'll be more awake next week. You've all listened to me rant, and I guarantee you there's a counter of the number of times I've called Ian Ginger and Ginger Ian. I think the counter is heavily in the second favor, where I call Ginger Ian instead of Ian Ginger. But anyway, Ian, thank you. And good night, everyone.
So hi everyone, yeah, I'm making a Patreon video as is appropriate, and in the meantime, the only engineer of chaos right now is Stagio Rose. I get it, the economy's kind of fucked, but somebody, anybody, get on up there. Executive Studios, Fop Doodle on Assignment Spaghetti, Stargazer Song, Sundancer, Thomas Curry, thanks for keeping the damn lights on. Special Writing Cannons, Drinking Buddy, Solar Aura, you guys have been here for years and I genuinely appreciate you. Twitty Lounge Pass, Bronze, Sean, you're doing good work. Explosives R&D team. Somebody's got to make the explosives around here. Pony Chick, Ryan Dragonwolf, Stormy Sky, Zeeb, and the other person that I missed. I'm sorry I missed you. Office Raiders, Brendan Kendall, Insane Scorpion, Justin Ragers, Carl Branson, Legate Lori, which, by the way, it's her entire fault that we have any RimWorld series. You should be thanking Lori. Testing audience, Paulus the Mad. Meh? Seriously, your name is Meh? Producers credits, Chaos Blur, or David Birch. Final Sight is the reason why we got to play Vampire the Masquerade over Christmas. You can thank Final Sight. Also, Gare Riviere, he's been here since 2014. Anyway, see you all later.